Just drugs.
Come on, just a little.
I'm not good for it, man. I'm not good for it.
Just a little.
Bro, I can't. Promise I'd stop.
Okay, if you're quite done deciding about the healing issue, I am going to.
One quick thing I've just thought of that I don't know. You know, we worked out all the rules for my battle bot.
We did.
Did we decide? Because all I've got at the moment in my bio is that I'm a mechanic and can perform fixing actions as a major.
Yeah.
But there's actually no details anywhere about the robot at all.
Oh, you should be able to see in character journals a profile for Dexus.
Oh, right. Dexys has its own. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah,
I
no,
gave him a profile. It's a basic profile. Like, he doesn't have any ability stats.
No.
Essentially, he doesn't have any stats because he uses yours, but he has a character sheet with his weapons on and his speed and stuff.
Yeah. This makes sense.
Yeah, so he has like his own speed and armor and health and stuff.
Okay, right. I'll keep hold.
Who's gonna go first?
Well, first off,
Speed and armor.
health and stuff. Welcome to Frontier Age. Before we jump in to do anything, you should all be looking at a nice like picture of the sort of stock image I've been using of the dragon chasing a train.
He just wants to get to work.
If you can't see that, please yell. Otherwise, it should all be good. Cool. Right. So, just for us and for anyone who happens to watch this, I thought I would do a brief overview of the setting, because I know you read about it in the campaign guide, but I think it's good to just have a clear idea about what the setting is like for Frontier Age. And then maybe you guys can introduce your characters a little bit, and then we can start playing some stuff. Any questions before we get going with that?
Nope.
Cool. So, as a brief overview, Frontier Age is going to take place entirely on the world of Umber, which is a habitable moon of the world of Verdant, which is where you all come from. Verdant is a sort of typical fantasy world, but I've deliberately left it quite undefined, so that, you know, people can come up with whatever sort of background they want. But it does have a few key features just in terms of the narrative. The entire world's been ruled for the last century by the Vox Imperium, which was basically this alliance of elves and humans who kind of subjugated almost the rest of the world in a British Empire twirly moustache kind of a way. But that all ended recently because there was a big massive civil war which split every race and every kingdom right down the middle, as everybody fought each other, trying to decide if being part of a big imperium was a good idea. Ultimately the rebels won and the Imperium got dismantled, and then afterwards they made this nice sort of new happy government called the Confederacy, which basically said, okay, all these different races and kingdoms, they can still exist, like, we'll work in common cause in a United Nations type way, but like, we respect the individual rights of different states. And in the wake of all that and the forming of the Confederacy, there's been this big development of lots of steam-based and magic-based technology, which you've sort of got this system of very like industrialized, like free enterprise capitalist system under the Confederacy. So there's all these innovators and entrepreneurs who have kind of been flourishing and trying out new, cool, wacky stuff. And the big one that's sort of important for this story is that there's been a realm of combined science and magic called form crafting, and people who were doing form crafting basically realized they could make teleportation devices which would allow them to travel to other nearby worlds. And the nearest world they could go to is Umber, which is where we're going. Umber's basically like this big moon that's always been in the sky. Like, Verdant has several moons, but Umber's the biggest one, and people have always wondered about it since about 100 years ago. Like, all these giant cracks suddenly started appearing in the surface of the moon, and people are like, what the hell, that's really weird, some sort of big catastrophe's gone up there. And some people thought, oh, maybe that means there's life up there. Like, it's if someone's caused some massive like magical apocalypse up there, that means there's got to be someone up there doing it. But this is the first time they've actually had like the magic and the technology to actually go there. So a big kind of race to the moon began, with lots of different form crafting companies kind of like competing to get there. And it was actually this little sort of startup company called the Adventure Trading Company, or the ATC, who actually cracked it, and they made this thing called the Arcgate, which is basically like a Stargate or the Dark Portal in Warcraft or any other sort of magical gate thing that I've ripped off. But you kind of get the idea, like, it's a big magic gate, you walk through it, and you step immediately onto the other world. All good so far?
Yeah.
Cool. So the ATC opened up this gate. They found, oh, okay, there is this cool place of Umber. It is habitable. It's quite a hostile land. It's been torn apart by magic. It's mostly full of like sort of dry plains land and desert and stuff. But like, you know, yeah, there's potential here. And also there's a ton of resources. There's lots of oil and gold and stuff like that to be dug up. And also, because there seems to have been some sort of magical apocalyptic event at some point in the moon's past, there's whole sections of the Earth that are magically infused, which has the downside that the place is really messed up. Like there's sort of magical geysers that burst out the ground and like sort of weird tears in the earth and things like that. But it also means that there's lots of magically infused metals that can be used as a fuel source. So everyone's now going, oh my god, this place is amazing, let's colonize it. And that's basically what the ATC has been doing. They've gone from this nobody little company to essentially the most important company in the whole world, because they're the ones with access to all this cool resources. So they've gone like Wild West style, hey, okay, let's just ride out there and stick some flags down and start mining this stuff. And they built the town of Prosperity Junction on the other side of the Arcgate, which is kind of like the first major settlement there, and they're expanding in all directions, building mines and colonies and steam trains to connect it all up, and basically anything they can get away with. And there's hundreds and hundreds of people coming through the Arcgate every day, because essentially some of them like want, in the same way that, you know, people would travel from Europe to America, people want, new opportunities, a chance to start fresh, that kind of thing. There's also a lot of people who are displaced by the Civil War, even though it's been over for a bit. Like, there's certain people, like especially the halflings and some humans, like, and orcs, who kind of essentially don't have a home anymore because their lands are where most of the fighting took place. So, like, the chance for them to go and like make new towns and new settlements is really appealing. So that's basically what's going on. Everyone's going on a big, crazy colonization spree and riding off in wagons and bringing cool, wacky new technologies with them. There have been a few problems because there are natives on Umber. Like, there hasn't been much contact yet, but we know that there are various races who live here. There's some sort of rather mysterious people who are being referred to as trolls. Like, there's been very limited contact, but we know there are these sort of troll tribes out there. And there's been a few strange insect type people called Clicknick who are traders, and they're sort of the only people we've really been able to talk to, like, as in, like, start maybe making some deals with. But it's sort of taken, most people assume that, like, as everyone starts to expand, stuff might start getting ugly. And also, the sort of final thing to be aware of is the ATC now has competition in the form of this big company called Reinhold Industries, who's this like giant corporation led by this famous inventor called Sir Reinhold, who's basically kind of like Thomas Edison. He's like this big capitalist inventor. Like, he invents crazy, powerful stuff, and then he patents it. So they have now made their own version of the Arcgate. So somewhere out there, we haven't made contact with it yet, but we know that somewhere out there, like, there's another company setting up its own towns. So that's sort of the competition. So the race to capture the resources on Umber is just getting started. And that was quite a long explanation, but I just kind of want to get that out there. The TLDR version of all this is you're going to go for a big magic swirly thing and explore a Wild West steampunk kind of a world with monsters in it.
Yep, that sounds accurate.
Maybe I should have just given you that at the start, but hey. Right, so now that I've waffled on a bit about the setting that I love, because I've been working on it for a while, I thought it would be good if we could go around and you guys could just introduce your character. It doesn't have to be a long-winded thing, but if you could maybe just tell us like your name and one or two things about like who your character is, and maybe if you thought about it, why they're traveling to Umber, that would be cool. Does anyone want to leap in?
I'll go first.
Okay, totally.
Yeah, so my character is Twig Leaf Stepper, and she is a Fey Folk performer. So basically, she likes to perform with sort of robots to create shows, and Twig wants nothing more than to find a way to build the best and most autonomous robot she can, like, possible. So upon hearing about the sort of expedition towards Umber and the fact that the ATC seemed to be looking for new recruits and things, Twig felt that mixing her own sort of Fey way of engineering with that of different races and different worlds would be the best way to create the most well-rounded robot she can. And there's no better place for that than the rugged smelting pot that is Umber.
Great, thank you, Tolly. I kind of wanted to mention as well, because I know you made your own Fey Folk race, which I think is pretty awesome. I like that you essentially made traditional fairies, and from what you were telling me, they're essentially sort of these solar punk, really industrious people.
Yeah.
So that's why you have like these cool robots and stuff like that with you.
Their way into caves and create these like fantastic sort of intertwining halls and things.
Yeah. I thought that deserved mention because I thought I think he did some pretty cool background on them.
Yeah, they're very sort of in tune with nature, but in an industrial sort of way. Like, so they use the nature in order to power their stuff. So, for instance, Twig has her own robot named Dexis, who is powered by firefly light. He's got a firefly that lives inside of him, basically. And so, if the firefly is ever hurt, then Dexis can't run. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is cool. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves? Go on then.
Next. Okay, so my name's Krosek, or my character's name's Krosek, and he's a Saurian, almost like a self-imposed exile. So he's not old, but you know he's not kind of young anymore. And basically, he used to be part of a big Saurian tribe, and he was kind of like the village medicine man in training. Sorry, I got my pen from before. And he's always been interested in all kinds of knowledge and learning, and he's always just sort of wanted to be able to help people and, you know, make remedies and things. He's always been the guy that everyone kind of comes to and says like, oh, my wife's broken her foot or something, can you fix it? Or, you know, our kids hurt themselves. And he's always kind of been the guy that everyone comes to. But one day, basically his village or his kind of settlement was attacked by barbarians and sort of marauders, and they just kind of slaughtered his entire village. They killed his wife in front of him and like all of his kids, and just like his entire family and everyone he knows is dead. And I won't say what race the marauders are yet, because I think that'll be a nice surprise when he meets one of them. But
Okay, cool.
yeah, so basically he kind of just thought like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to like make any more friends. I don't want any more family, and he's just kind of gone into, like I said, a sort of self-imposed exile. And he's a bit rugged, not really like muscly and big and beefy, but he just gets on and does his own thing. And his main reason for coming to Umber is that he still loves knowledge. He loves learning and he loves teaching himself. And his whole reason, sort of almost for existing now that he hasn't got anyone, is that he just wants to make a record of all the knowledge and things that happen. And he's got big books that he carries around with himself, and he makes maps and records sort of things about cultures and histories, and obviously kind of furthers his own medicinal learnings and things and how to heal people, and he basically wants to get better at that. And maybe in the long run, he wants to kind of avenge his wife, maybe. But he's never really been like a sort of warlike character. He just wants to learn, and he felt that, you know, going to this new world with all its sort of new magic and everything else that's going on there, maybe he can find out some way to maybe bring his wife back, or sort of stop what happened to his people from happening again. And yeah, he has a big book that he just like writes everything down in maps. So that's him.
Okay, cool. I haven't heard all of that from you, so that actually sparks off some ideas in my dark GM brain. But thanks.
Can anyone else?
Be fine. Probably. Maybe. Ish. Who else would like to introduce themselves?
I'll go.
Go on, Kenny.
Character's called Kevod. This warrior, he at home he was guard. He liked, well, I liked his job was just looking after people and things, but not much is going on back there. So he's decided to go to Umber and see if he can eventually make more money out there, protecting and fighting and all sorts.
And he's a Saurian, isn't he?
Yeah.
Same as Kurosek is. Cool. Fair enough. Bwap, I know that like you're having to do stuff on your tablet this week, so the mic might be a little quiet. But do you want to have a go?
Yeah, right. So my guy's called Blint, he's a dwarf warrior. Got exiled, of course. He was a bit of a twat and was a bit of a sadist. He got caught, basically. So got exiled, got his name stripped, and was essentially the reason he went to Umber.
Sorry, I'm just getting a message from on high from Nitch.
Yes, you
Hello, Nitch. It's hiding there quietly in the channel. Sorry.
want to interrupt.
Sorry? You don't want to interrupt? No, it's not in your nature.
What you best off doing, Whoopi, is setting that Roll20 window up in its own Chrome process, and then just using the YouTube putting split at that window rather than doing what you're doing, clicking between it and tabs.
Oh, I've got it set. Oh, so I thought I had it set. Is it flicking when I change window?
Open the dashboard and another one on one half of your screen. Do you still got that Monster 4K panel?
Hang on, so sorry, what do I need to remove? Like, is it just the Roll20 that's being broadcast, or is it other stuff?
It's just Roll20 at the moment, but if you flick to the dashboard like you did, it shows it because you were doing it on a tab in Chrome, weren't you? So.
Yeah, no, I flipped it around. It's because I had some stuff in the wrong Chrome window, but like now that Chrome window is nothing but Roll20, so it should all be fine.
Okay.
Should be.
Well, having the dashboards open useful because you can see if things start to go wrong.
Yes.
And also it's useful for like people see how many people are watching and moderate the chat and things.
Fun things like that. Cool. Well, that's probably a good moment for me to bring up the fact that I was going to sort of put a little disclaimer on this because it is the first time we've used a lot of this stuff. I know that we've done a little bit of playing around with a Roll20 and stuff, but like I think just if we're prepared for the fact there might be some technical difficulties, especially in this first session. Also, that I think we need to be aware, because we're using Discord, that we're not all like sitting around a kitchen table playing this game. Like, you just have to be a little extra aware of letting people speak, because like, you know, people are inevitably going to end up like interrupting each other a bit or trying to talk over each other, and it's just something to be aware of. I'm also vaguely concerned that Roll20 will throw me another curveball tonight. We'll see how it goes. You know, I've had a few problems with it. But I think it's all set up. The only thing I'm worried about is if the control like if you're going to be able to control your tokens correctly in every map. If that does go wrong, I have a manual fix for it. It'll just be a little more time consuming. But essentially, just bear with it if we do have technical problems. I think the only other thing was I was just going to review Fantasy Age very quickly. Like, obviously, we're using the Fantasy Age rule system. I chose it because it's a lightweight rule system, and it allowed me and other people like Tolly to add on like our own extra rules quite easily. And as you know, we've added in things like unique talents and cowboy stuff like guns and fun things like that. The simplest way of summarizing how we're going to play is like we'll do as much as we can, sort of like just narratively and with description. When it comes to making ability tests or trying to do things, those tests just use 3d6. Like whatever you get asked to do, it uses 3d6. Which is a little different to role-playing games you might have played before, but it does work out, and I think it works out quite well. The only other thing to be aware of, if you weren't aware of it already, is the stunt dice mechanic that Fantasy Age rules use, which is basically, if you ever roll a double, then you generate stunt points, and you can use those stunt points to do various special moves. If you've looked at the little sort of cheat sheet, or if you've looked in the rulebook, you have an idea about what some of those things are. Like, you can spend 3 stunt points on a lightning attack, so you get to attack twice, or you get to do a pierce armor stunt, so you get to like negate the enemy's armor, stuff like that. Because we're in Roll20, normally how you do a stunt dice is just you'd roll 3d6, but one of the d6 would be a different color, and you'd say, oh, that's my stunt die. Because we can't do that in here, what we're going to do is basically say that the first dice that you roll is the stunt dice. So if I just do a little example. Yeah, so 5 is my stunt dice. The first dice is always your stunt dice, although in that occasion I didn't happen to stunt because I didn't roll any doubles. Any questions about that or any other rules mechanics before we essentially get going?
I'm good.
No, I'm happy with it.
Should be alright.
Cool. I'm sure stuff will come up, but we'll just work it out as we go along, like any game. Okay, awesome. So, I am now, moment of truth, going to move you onto your beginning scene. Oh, there was one other thing I was going to say, sorry. The way I've set this up in Roll20 is there's a mixture of scenes where you might need to specifically move around and interact with things, which is mostly combat, but there are a couple of exceptions. We'll have a grid map like we've practiced with. There will be other scenes like walking around town or like hanging out in you know, a building or whatever, that will just have some artwork like we're looking at now, because it's just too bloody time consuming to make a map for every single little scene. So there will be some imagination involved for some scenes, but I think that'll be obvious as we go along. So let's move you in to the first scene.
Oh my god, there's sounds.
There are sounds. So hopefully you are now all looking at a train car. And if you scroll things along to the right... I just realised I need to do a bit of character swaps because certain people are not here. And some people are here. But if you scroll along to the right, most of you apart from Bwap should see your character. And I'll put Bwap's character in quickly now.
Is that a toilet?
That is a toilet. This is a train, it comes with a toilet.
I think more concerning that it's a wooden toilet. The splinters you must get off that. Oh.
We're here to explore, not here to poop.
Hey,
That's very
Sorry.
profound.
Saurian's got a poop. And
It's a train. Look up, look down. You've explored the whole train.
but we haven't killed everyone yet.
That's not exploring.
Sorry, I'm just sorting out Bwap's character. I foolishly took him off because I thought he wasn't going to be able to make it, and then he could make it.
Just for other characters in green with names, are they NPCs?
They are NPCs, yes.
Okay.
Green is essentially... I've got a sort of a colour code system, roughly, which is... The sort of yellow colour is player characters. Green is friendly NPCs, red is unfriendly NPCs. I think I've got a couple of others, like blue, which are like ambiguous NPCs, but they aren't going to show up yet. Okay, so before we get into actual any story stuff, I just want to check that people actually have control of their tokens. So one at a time, can we just check people have tokens? Okay, Krosek can use yours, Kavod's good. Tollies can use Twig. Bwap, can you move Blend? Yay!
Yeah.
I've just noticed, why are we missing... Who's... White Wolf.
That's Tickles.
Why have I put him in? He's not in this group.
Oh no! The timelines are crossing!
For a moment you see this strange looking cowboy sitting in there and then he mysteriously disappears.
Dex Dingo.
That's Tolly's
Dex, yeah, that's Tolly's robot who gets its own token because essentially what we've worked out for Twig's robot is that it uses Twig's profile, but it can move independently. But only one of them can ever do an attack. Okay, so we know we're all working, which I'm eternally grateful for. So, as you might have guessed, you're on a train. The train is actually the Golden Express, which is the ATC special train that transports people from Verdant through the Arc Gate to the other side on Umber. It's kind of got a famous reputation, although, as you can kind of get a sense from that map, it's actually not that fancy. Like, the golden part of Golden Express is they've put some sort of cheap, vaguely gold-coloured paint on a few of the decorations. Otherwise, it's a bit of a tatty, refurbished wooden train car. You are, as you can see, in the front train, or the front train car. It's got several like carriages behind you. It's up to you to decide how long you've been on the train. Some people have been on here for 2 or 3 days, because it literally travels across the whole of the main continent of Verdant, stopping off at several major cities. And it made its final stop before the Arc Gate maybe about like 10-15 minutes ago. So now everyone who's going to Umber is on the train. It's been pretty crowded, it doesn't smell that great. The toilet that you've pointed out probably doesn't smell that great. And yeah, you're travelling along, looking out at the nice grassy fields of verdant, and something you maybe haven't thought about yet, but now you might want to decide, is how well you all know each other. Because maybe some of you have known each other for a while, maybe you've just met on this train, because you might have been on the train for a while, or maybe some of you are being antisocial and you haven't talked to anyone else on the train at all. So, does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Twig is annoyingly social.
Okay, that sounds about right.
Twig tries to talk to literally everybody she meets, so it's likely she's tried to talk to that suspiciously bronzebeard looking dwarf.
It's a total coincidence that that dwarf over there looks like Twin Bronzebeard.
But she also, like, if no one responds to her, she ends up talking to Dexys and herself.
I should point out that you'll see kind of Dexys, he's not on a seat, he's just kind of in this little luggage area here, behind your seats, and behind, between the seat and the loo. Because they just sort of made you put him in luggage. That's why you sat at the back, that's why I put you there.
I reckon my guy's kind of been on the train since it stopped in like the ass end of nowhere, because he's just wandering around, so I reckon I've probably been on the train for a long time, but mostly just like kept to myself, reading books and stuff, and probably keeping a wary eye on the robot. And
Yeah, sure. That would be unnerving.
Trying to ignore the fairy who just keeps talking to everyone.
Any other thoughts?
I probably tried to talk with the other Saurian as well occasionally,
Sure.
Yeah.
so
I've-
we probably chat a bit.
Probably chatted a bit with Twig, seeing as I'm sitting right next to
Yeah, you probably couldn't help it, right?
conversation
As I
was
said, annoying-
Getting talked at.
Just nodding like, yep, yep, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Twig will have been going on a lot about everything she can possibly think of, from roboting to the things outside the windows.
So, just to add a little more detail, you'll see that behind Crowsec there's this guy called Gilcrest. Gilcrest is a halfling who's been on there more or less as long as any of you have been on the train. He's rather red-faced and seems to be constantly blowing his nose, and like is very poorly groomed and very nervous. He's wearing this kind of ill-fitting military uniform and a cowboy hat, which he kind of like tries to put on top of his goggles, and none of it really works. But like Crowsec, he kind of seems mostly interested in reading this really big book he's got with him, which, you know, he just sort of keeps going through it and like mumbling it like he's trying to repeat it, and he's been doing this for hours and hours and hours, and it's maybe got a little annoying hearing him just kind of like reading the same passage over and over again.
What's he been saying?
Like rules and regulations and stuff, so he's just like muttering like, oh, rule 27B, all rangers must be well kept at all times. Like, oh, rule 34A, a criminal must always be read their rights before being placed in a holding cell, like stuff like that. But he seems to be really bad at remembering any of it, so he's gone over and over some of the same pages multiple times. Most of the rest of the train sort of filled up more recently today, including at one of the last stops. You'll see these, well, the only other two people who are named, that there's this hobgoblin called Calpurnia, and this Saurian child, a young Saurian girl. Like, I guess to the Saurians you have a better idea of judging things like age, so she's maybe about sort of 10, this Saurian girl called Nyx, and you know that they're called Calpurnia and Nyx because Nyx, much like Twig, does not shut up. She has been bouncing up and down her seat for most of the journey. She's always looking out the window, she's commenting on everything she sees, she's asking questions. And she's always basically going, Calpurnia, Calpurnia, what's this? Calpurnia, when are we going to get there? Calpurnia, what's the art gate going to look like? Calpurnia, like, will we have a good life on Umber? Like, all these kind of questions. And these ones have caused a bit of a stir from the other passengers. It's not entirely clear what that is, although it's certainly odd that a hobgoblin is travelling with a Saurian kid. Also, you know that hobgoblins don't have a great reputation. People don't tend to like them because they were soldiers, like, bred specifically for the Civil War. So it's maybe not unusual that there's not many people really sitting near them. And the rest of the train is kind of like just a fairly reasonable assortment of people you might expect. Like, there's people from all walks of life. There's a couple of people who look quite tough, mean customers who maybe look like they should be going to the frontier, and others who just look quite sort of out of place and maybe a bit shy and awkward. Does anyone want to do anything in particular, or do you just want to ride on the train journey and see where it takes you?
Can I just be talking to Nyx as the annoying Fae I am?
Yeah, sure. You can move over there and chat to Nyx if you want. Da-da-da. It's amazing how you can move your own token. You look funny, is what Nyx says. I'm going to warn you right now, by the way, I can't do voices, so you're just going to have to pretend I'm doing voices. Oh, Blint's gone to the toilet. That's nice.
Well, I am funny. I'm a fairy. Well, sort of a fairy.
You're a fairy?
Met us.
I've never met a fairy before.
We're from the mountains. We're from the northern reaches of Verdant. So, why are you on this train? What are you doing?
We're going to Umber. We're going to have a whole new life, and everything's going to be great. Calpurnia told me.
And who's Calpurnia?
This is Calpurnia. And then she kind of like bats the back of the head of this hobgoblin, who kind of like just nods at her quite wearily, and it's like, yes, yes. Like, she doesn't seem to want to talk to anyone.
Oh, I see. Are you excited?
I'm really excited. I've never been this far away from home before.
Do you want to see something really cool?
Yeah, totally.
So, immediately, Twig calls over Dexys.
Cool.
Clunks along steadily on his own. He's got sort of 4 feet that move independently, a little bit like a spider. And Dexys clunks over.
Okay. So even just that, like, thrills her, and she's, like, jumping on her seat, like, clapping her hands.
This is Dexys. This is my partner.
Hi, Dexys.
Dexys sort of shuffles about. He doesn't speak. So he just sort of, some steam pours out the top of his head, and that's that.
I'd like to look very warily at the robot and, like, move my stuff away from it.
You don't like the robot.
Make sure my book is safe.
Very wise. Okay, so Nyx is quite taken with Dexys, but then suddenly she gets distracted by something moving out the window, and she starts batting Calpurnia on the back of the head and goes, Cal, look! There it is! That's the art gate! And if you follow, like, where she's pointing through the window, you can sort of see the track is curving a little, so you can kind of see a little what's in front of the train. And the train is approaching this sort of massive metal structure, like an arch, with, like, it's a giant metal arch with kind of several strange machine-like devices kind of like attached to it on each side and one at the top. And as the train gets near, like, the arch starts to crackle with energy, and then, you know, the energy starts to link up in kind of like interlocking lines, and then with a sort of small, not an explosion, but like, you know, like a kind of a flare of energy, the gap between the arch, like, opens up the portal, and you can suddenly see into this other world where you're going to.
Are we riding on the train and the train is going to go through the portal?
Yeah, essentially the train track rides through. It just goes straight through the middle of the arch. And as you're watching, like there's a kind of like a crackly radio intercom, kind of like attached in one of the corners of the carriage, and you kind of get this announcement going, you know, this is your driver speaking. Like, we hope you've enjoyed your time on the Golden Express. We're now approaching the ATC Arc Gate. Please make sure that you are inside the vehicle during transition, as everyone must be protected by the metal container of the train, because we're not quite sure what will happen if you don't. Thank you, and have a good journey. And so then maybe this lass who I had out here at the back smoking, kind of maybe she comes in after that announcement. And as Nyx jumps up and down, clapping her hands, the train goes right into the portal, and almost as if nothing major happens, like you don't feel a bump, you don't feel like a jolt or anything, but just suddenly out the windows, you're on another world. And it looks completely different to the green fields that you were in. It's basically, as far as the eye can see, just lots of rolling hills and plains land, but with very dark soil and this kind of sandy coloured grass as opposed to green grass. The sky is kind of an odd colour, like it's still blue, but it's a very purpley kind of blue. You can see, like, you've never really seen a horizon that goes on quite this far. Like, it seems like the dimensions are a little odd compared to what you're used to. You can see migrating herds of some sort of creature that maybe look like very large cattle, like moving like across the sandy coloured fields. You can see what looks like a sort of ramshackle wooden town in the distance that the train tracks are going to. And Nyx, the kid, she's kind of like looking up and pointing and going, wow, look at that. And what she's pointing at is essentially in the sky there are islands of rock that look like they've been ripped out of the ground and are just kind of floating in the sky among the clouds.
Nagran style.
Yeah, I was going to say, basically, if you, as Warcraft players, it's quite similar to Outland and Nagrand, with like, yeah, these chunks of earth with trees growing on them and stuff going on, but they like seem to just be held aloft in the air by some kind of magical force. And Nyx kind of goes, that must be why this is called the Shattered Plains. And like, because you can see the cracks in the ground where maybe some of these things have been ripped out. And also, the other thing that's quite unsettling, perhaps, is in the sky, you can see Verdant. The world of Verdant, because Umber is essentially a large moon. So, this world that you've spent your entire life on, and everything you know about is on the world of Verdant, is now reduced to this kind of green sphere that's thousands of miles away, and it's just like this kind of blob in the sky. So all this you see in a matter of moments. Like, you know, you kind of have one of those slow motion moments when something very new and unexpected happens, and so you're like kind of like taking it all in. The next moment is you hear this kind of booming noise, and if you turn sort of to look out the left-hand window to the source of the booming noise, you see a number of hunched figures kind of in the distance off to the side of the tracks, and there's a series of like booms, kind of like cannon shots in rapid succession, and you see these like fiery trails moving through the sky towards the train, and Nyx, the kid, starts screaming, and loads of basically everyone else on the train starts screaming and panicking and trying to get out of their seats, as these sort of balls of fire come moving towards the train at very high speed. you got a new map loaded?
You might need to put the old characters back on there,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to do this every time.
because yeah, like tickling stuff here.
I feel like Gilchrist has nicked my spot.
Yeah, you were in the toilet. Gilchrist is running there with you. I like to
You sat on
imagine-
your lap.
Yeah, you sat on your lap holding.
Save me.
Can I ask a question that's, I guess, like out of character?
Yeah, sure.
So. Is that just because she has really low health or something? Or
Hang
do I
on.
not?
I'm not seeing the question.
So Nyx just like has a health bar over her head, and for me it looks like she's missing a load of health.
Yes, it should be, because I'm about to explain why.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm just trying. No, that's fine. Okay, I was gonna put Gilchrist in the toilet, but since Blint's there, I'll put Gilchrist over here. Okay, so essentially, everything went black, and there was a very loud explosion. You all kind of like come to a few moments later, and everything's gone to hell, as you might have guessed by looking at the map. The trains come to a stop. The front of the carriage seems to be on fire. Everything out the windows is full of smoke. But you all seem to be in the back half of the carriage. You all seem to be fine, which is very disorientating until you notice there's this kind of red shimmer, like a shimmering sphere that kind of like is surrounding and cutting through the walls of the train. And that seems to be some sort of force field that's protected you, and as sort of some of the flames subside, that force field disappears and trails of red energy from it kind of go back into Nyx, who is collapsed on the train floor in front of you, like completely unconscious, and as the red energy goes into her, sort of cuts and wounds seem to open up on her skin, and she starts bleeding. Calpurnia like moves over to her immediately and is sort of like, you know, going, Nyx, like wake up. I told you never to do this. It's kind of, to those of you, I guess only Krosek is magically inclined, but to Krosek, like who's maybe a bit magically attuned, you can kind of like feel the magical after effect of whatever it is Nyx did to protect you.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? Can I notice anything like special about it, or is it just look like she's kind of?
Yeah. It feels odd. It feels odd, but as a Saurian, you. Alright, put it this way. It feels unusual. Like it's not a kind of magic you would use, but like you have a suspicion. So I'm gonna say. Do you have like arcane lore or history lore or something like that as a focus?
I have several of those. Yes. I have arcane lore, cultural lore, and historical lore as focus.
Okay, so do you want to make the very first roll of the game and do an arcane lore test to see if
Is
it
that
makes sense to you?
3d6?
That'll be 3d6 plus your intelligence plus 2 for the focus.
Okay.
Bearing in mind this is all happening in a few, a few seconds, but like, yeah, just in terms of your instinctive reaction to what it seems to be.
I've got 15.
Okay, that works. So basically, this seems to you like old Saurian blood magic, which is a kind of magic that's been outlawed since the end of the war, and the Saurians kind of got a bit more involved with the Confederacy. It's what the sort of older generations of your people used to use. Like, instead of using like natural arcane energy, they used to use their own bodies, or more often the bodies of people they sacrificed to power their spells, because using blood to power spells is incredibly powerful, but also it can come at a great cost. It surprises you that a kid can do it, because the only people you ever heard of doing it are like, you know, really old, powerful priests, or like, you know, great war leaders. Like, some little, you know, kid shouldn't really be able to do this kind of thing.
Famous.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing, songs are sung about it, books are written about it, like, some random kid doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so maybe you're like on the floor looking at this kid going like, having like a what the hell kind of a moment, as, you know, everyone else is sort of picking themselves up off the floor. Calpurnia's kind of like shaking this kid, like really worried about her, trying to get her to wake up, but she won't wake up. And then the carriage gets rocked again, and there's another big explosion. And as you get to your feet, you can see that out the window, and you can kind of see them on the map, there's these kind of hunched dog-like creatures. I guess again, Krossic and anyone who has kind of any sort of lore background will know that they're Gnolls, which are a kind of very similar to Warcraft Gnolls. They're like hyena type people, who are like a really hostile group that have been encountered on Umber. And they're carrying these kind of like stick weapons, like they've got rockets tied to sticks. Does anyone have military lore as a focus?
No.
Nah, I don't think so. Okay, but basically they've got some sort of, it looks like a crude rocket launcher, and like they're kind of like firing one off, like at the train or at the arc gate. And they mostly seem to be trying to shoot at the arc gate and missing half the time, and the rest are kind of just like plowing into the train and blowing shit up. Yeah?
I don't know if I should point this out. I have something called Lore Novice. So whenever I make a successful intelligence test with a lore focus, it says you should give me a bit of extra information. I guess you did that now, but I just thought I should.
Oh, on the... Oh, you mean with the test about Nyx?
Yeah.
Okay, well, okay, you know, since you've got that, I will say that it does spark off a thought in the back of your mind that you had heard rumours about sort of blood magic starting to be used again by like sort of like a bit of a wayward cult, but it had always been treated as rumours. But yeah, it kind of sparks off that in your head, because like I say, no one's really used it for the last decade.
The dots for some reason.
Yeah, you're kind of like, hang on, like, maybe it's got something to do with that. So, Gilcrest, who is kind of like freaking out in the corner over here, looks out the window, sees the Gnolls with their crude rocket launchers, and he goes, "Oh no, it's the Blackpool Bandits! I've read about them. Like, we're all gonna die," and he just kind of like huddles in the corner going, "Oh my god, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna die, we're all gonna die." And I would like you to roll initiative, so that we can start with a combat.
What do we roll for initiative?
That's a good point.
Is it just like...
I think it's a 3d6, but I'm suddenly not sure. Sorry?
Isn't it plus dex?
It is plus dex, you're right, yeah. Okay, so 3d6 plus dex.
Can I just say, like, whilst they were figuring out that Nyx and everything, I've like run out of the door with like my pants halfway up my legs. Like,
Doing what? Just like you went to the loo and like everything went wrong.
yeah, essentially, yeah.
I guess you also missed going through the arcade. There's no windows.
just on the toilet.
Yeah. Like this momentous occasion and you like missed it and now everything's on fire.
What did you eat?
I don't think that's our biggest concern right now, Kenny. Sorry, Cavold.
Me and Kenny need to roll again.
Um,
Wouldn't they just act at the same time?
We fight it out.
we'll split it by, I'm guessing by the +2 that Tolly has 2 dexterity and Kenny has 1.
Yeah.
So we'll say Tolly goes first. That's more of a D&D way of doing it, but I think it makes sense in this situation. And let me just check I've got everyone's turn order. So what have we got? Krosek is definitely going... Oh no, wait. Krosek's going last.
Yeah. I've popped my number in the thing.
Ah, you're helpful and everything. Blint's got 11, Kenny's got 14, Cavod's got 14. Oh, I haven't added Tolly.
Do we have time to like talk to each other whilst this is all going on?
I'll say you've got time to like very briefly talk to each other, like maybe 10 seconds worth of dialogue with each other, because like essentially fire is starting to fill up from the front of the cavern.
Right. I'm just gonna like quickly like say to Calpurnia like I'll take care of the kid, just make some space. So, and I'll sort of kind of like start motioning that I'm gonna kind of pick her up or carry her out and yeah, help.
I'm,
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, what were you gonna say, Tolly?
no, I think Bwappy was going to say something.
Yeah, basically, I'm like stood next to Gilchrist shouting at him, asking what's happened, because I ain't got a clue that we've even got here, never mind.
Yeah, true. Gilchrist just kind of like looks at you and goes, I don't know, we're all gonna die, help! And then he starts looking through his book and going, there's not a rule for this in here!
Both Twig and Dexis are pointing towards the door, weirdly in unison.
Oh yeah.
Just saying, we need to go, get out here.
Okay, so I've rolled 11 for the... I'm just gonna sort of have all the Gnolls go at the same time, so I've just given them, like, the pack leader. They got 11. So they'll go basically after everyone except for Krosek, because he rolled poorly. And then the NPCs might chip in, but they go last. I think I got everyone. And...
Thing in the turn order thing.
Sorry?
Does everyone want to put their numbers in the turn order?
I think I've got you all in the right order from what you rolled, so I think we're okay. So, by my reckoning, Tolly goes first.
Yeah. Right.
So you were pointing at the door in unison with Dexis. Fire's filling the cabin. Cavod and Calpurnia are kind of gesturing to each other and trying to work out what to do with next. What do you want to do? It doesn't have to be a combat thing, but you know, you can do what you like. But we're doing it in like major and minor actions now.
Yeah.
Also, just as something I wanted to point out, so you get your major and minor actions. Minor, like moving is a minor, running is a major. You might, you don't have to, but you might want to be aware that like you have to ready a weapon. Like if you've got a weapon on you, you kind of have to get it out, like draw your weapon. So, and that's a minor action. So I'm just saying, like, you know, sort of in your first turn of combat, you might want to spend.
You get a minor and a
You get a minor, a major, and as many free actions as you want. Free actions are things like kind of like yelling something out or dropping something. You know, something very simple and quick.
Okay. So as my minor action, I am going to move out the door. Basically, I'm just going to go outside.
Okay, fair enough. And
did
you
we
get
work
to.
out what Dex's speed was? Oh, it's 10.
Yeah. Yeah, and Dexis gets to move as part of your move action, is what we decided. Can you move your character? I'm worried you're
Yeah.
not going. Yeah.
Each square is 2, right? Of movement?
Yeah. Basically, square is 2.
Okay.
It says units, but it means yards, really.
Just have to use your imagination.
Yeah. It works out quite nicely because in order to be in melee range of something, you've got to be within 2 yards of it, which is a square.
Dexys moves separately, doesn't he?
Yeah, you can move him somewhere completely different if you want to.
Right.
So you're essentially you get out of the train. You're kind of blasted by this heat wave of that comes from all the various fire that's basically everywhere around you. You're kind of deafened by the noise of explosions and these rockets going off and this barking, yelping noise that the Gnolls seem to be doing. You don't know if that's like a language or what, but they're making that noise. And you kind of see that these 3 warriors that are kind of down below you, they're all kind of lining up their one-shot rocket launchers at the arc gate, which is sort of behind you. Essentially, all of the train cars that were behind your train car are now big balls of fire and smoke. And just behind that is the Umber side of the arc gate, which looks exactly the same as it was on Verdant, like a big arch with machinery attached to it. But they've managed to hit it several times, and it's damaged and on fire, and lightning is kind of arcing out in random directions from it. So that's what you can see. You've taken your minor. Do you want to do major?
Yeah. Actually, no, I think I'm just gonna leave it there for now. I'll just move.
Sure. I mean, you could do, for example, if you don't want to attack or run or anything, there's a major action which is defend, so you could, treat that as, going to ground or something if you wanted, which basically gives you an extra bonus to your defense.
I'll defend then.
It does lower your rolls on other things, though.
No, that's guard.
Oh, is that good? Okay.
There's guard, which is a minor, which I kind of hate because it's very wordy, which basically says you can get a bonus to defense, but you can't do ability tests. And then there's defend, which is a major, which is basically you get +2 to defense.
Yeah, that minor one's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't like it.
I just
Let's
sort
not
of
use
stand my
it.
ground then, in that case.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of, I guess when you move, you're kind of using your wings a little bit, aren't you? So I don't know if you want to get low or if you want to move high or something as your defense. It's kind of up to you.
I do all of my movement to get out, so I can't really go high at the moment.
Okay. But you're prepared to dodge, essentially.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, next is Canny with Cavod.
Prosec, do you have Nick's sorted? Or should I carry out?
Am I allowed to reply?
Yeah, sure. Treat it as a free action, having a short
Okay,
chat.
I'm just gonna say, yeah, you should just take her out, and then I'll come and heal her outside. Just get her out of here so she doesn't die from smoke.
Yeah, then I want to carry Nick's as far as I can go.
Okay, fair enough. We'll say that you can carry her your normal... if we say major is picking her up, and then minor is moving with her.
I'm just gonna shout at him, don't take her outside just yet.
Okay, so where do you wanna take her? If you move your character, I'll move Nyx to wherever you are.
That's as far as I can get.
Okay, so maybe you carry Nyx. Well, I'll just put her kind of next to you, even though essentially I guess she's in your arms.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that's all you can do. So next up would be Blint.
Wappy?
Sorry. I want to like ready my two-handed axe.
Yeah, sure. Sounds like a good plan.
Just run as far as close to them as I can.
You're running. Okay.
How does it work with the movement? Is it from where I am, right there? Might it be 16?
Yeah, I mean, you can move through people, like you can sort of barge past. So yeah, you can run up to 16. So it's sort of however you want to do it. Like, you can use the measuring tool, or you can move like, 8 and then move 8 in a different direction, or however you want to do it.
Can I get to there?
You can. You're running. Yeah. I mean, you need to sort of hit the select move thing, which is the arrow in the top left menu bar, and then you should be able to move yourself there. I'm hoping, as long as I've set this up right. Yeah, cool. Okay, so you basically go charging out of the train with an axe in your hand, just kind of like running out into this strange world, like it's kind of sandy and grassy underfoot, and you just sort of instinctively charge at this Gnoll scout, who is kind of surprised to see that anyone's even alive from the trains. So she kind of like just looks at you and just starts barking really aggressively, like she kind of tries to make herself, like she rears up, tries to make herself look big, and starts just barking like mad at you. Okay, so the next is actually the Gnoll's turn. So.
I'd just like to point out that I sigh when he runs outside.
Okay, so I'm going to do the Gnolls. Most of the Gnolls for this point haven't actually noticed that you guys are alive. So the 3 warriors and the pack leader, they're focusing on firing their remaining rockets at the arc gate. But the scout, who, as we've just said, is rather alarmed by Blint, this crazy dwarf thing charging with an axe, like, freaks out and, like, grabs a knife from her belt and just kind of swings at him wildly, barking in some kind of language that nobody understands. So.
Knowledge.
What? Yes, Gnollish. Gnoll-ish? I'm not quite sure.
Ollie. Oh, is that Nitch leaving?
I'm going to assume that was Nitch leaving because we're all here. Okay, cool. So, I've lost my page on the Gnoll stats. Hang on. So essentially I get to do the first attack of the entire campaign, which is very exciting. She lunges forward at you with a knife. Gnolls are actually pretty good at fighting. They get a +4, so I'm going to roll 3d6 +4. What's your def? Or I can tell you your def, because I can see your character sheet. Oh, we never worked out your defense! No!
Should be on your character sheet, Puppy.
Yeah, we didn't fill it in. An oversight has happened already.
Oh, God.
I am deeply shamed. Okay, it's fine. We can work it out very quickly. Defense is 10 plus your dexterity. So you have a defense of 11. Which I have now filled in on your character sheet. And the Gnoll Scout rolled 11, and rolling an equal number to defense hits. So she hits you with the knife, and the knife does d6 damage. So there's 4 damage, which will be mitigated by your armor. You have armor 4, so essentially all the damage is negated. So she basically lunges forward, and the knife kind of like glances off your armor. and she kind of like backs away and snarls at you, and that's all that happens. So next is Calpurnia. Calpurnia basically, she's allowed Kavod to carry Nyx. She then, from the little luggage section, which is kind of up here where Dexys was stored, she grabs a pig iron, which is kind of the hobgoblin traditional rifle. Like, it's kind of a basic rifle with like a wood stock and kind of a large barrel. It's basically an advanced blunderbuss. So she grabs that, she yells to Kavod, "Look after my girl," and then she's gonna move out and start shooting. So I've actually even made a character sheet for Calpurnia, because major NPCs I make a character sheet for. She's gonna shoot her pig iron at the scout that Blint's fighting. She gets +4 because she's a badass as well. But she rolls very poorly. She basically just starts firing bullets into the air and screaming a war cry. Like, she's gone into full battle mode, just unloading shots, but not hitting anything. And Gilcrest, I've given a turn, but right now Gilcrest is still rocking back and forward in the train, like, kind of just flicking randomly through his book, saying, "There's no rules for this. There's no rules for this in the book." And then we go back to turn order, and it's Tolly with Twig.
Right. So I will command.
I haven't had a go.
Sorry, who hasn't a go? Who did I miss?
Krosek.
Oh, sorry. I skipped over you because, yeah, you're just so slow. Sorry, you should have had a go before the NPCs did. Okay. Krosek, please take your turn now. The fire is kind of spreading through the carriage quite rapidly towards you, and it's getting difficult to breathe.
Okay, I'm just gonna move up to Nyx.
Yep.
And then, can I tell like how badly wounded she is? Is she like kind of about to die, or is she just?
She looks pretty bad. I mean, you're a healer by trade, so you kind of know this stuff fairly well. Like, she looks. Okay, in real world terms, she looks like she just got hit by a bus. Like, she is a mess, and blood is pouring out of several places at once. Like, you're kind of surprised that she's still alive, but she is kind of twitching and, like, huddling her shoulders up a little, so, like, she is clearly alive.
Okay, I'm gonna cast healing touch then.
Okay, cool.
I think I'm standing next to her, so it's fine. It's a major action. It has a TN of 11.
Okay.
That's target number or something?
That's target number, so that's essentially the number you have to roll. So it's 3d6 plus your intelligence, which is pretty good.
I don't have a healing focus, but I guess that. So.
You don't have a healing focus, but you do have intelligence 4, so 3d6 plus 4 is quite good.
Okay, 15.
Okay, so you kind of wave your hands over her and like she shimmers with energy and
I have my staff and I just kind of point it at her. And,
yeah.
like wave my hands around. So I can spend up to 3 mana and heal d6 for each mana. So I'm gonna spend 2 mana and I'll roll 2d6. I don't get a bonus on my intelligence, do I? Or
Not as far as I'm aware, no.
okay, I'll roll 2d6 then. Oh, 12, wow.
Okay, so she heals like a bunch. That's actually more than her maximum health is. So she's now full health. All of the kind of like the gashes and cuts that are all over her body, like kind of just slowly knit themselves back together, and the bleeding stops, and you see like her chest start to rise and fall with what you know is fairly normal breathing,
Yeah.
but her eyes stay
Can I,
closed.
like, take off one of my. Sorry.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
And I like take off one of my pelts and like wrap it around her and like wipe some of the blood off and
Okay.
leave her.
Yeah. Great. So she's still like, her eyes are still closed. She still seems completely unconscious, but like, you're not worried about her anymore. Like even like a casual glance as a healer, you can see like she's all right now. Like she just needs rest. So good job. That would be the end of your turn, and then yeah, okay. Now we'll go. Now everyone's taken their turn. We will go back to the beginning, and Twig can have a turn.
Right, so I'm going to use my major action as Twig to command Dexys.
Yeah.
To like, does it count as his major action? I'm very confused.
Okay.
Like,
Basically, how it works is you get to take your actions, and if it's something like a move, Dexys can just move at the same time you move. If you want to attack, only one of you can attack. Essentially, Dexys has weapons, you have weapons. If you take an attack as a major action, you have to designate one of you to attack.
okay.
In all other respects, like, Dexys can do stuff when you do stuff. But attacks are the thing which is like, no, you have to pick which one of you's doing it.
Okay, so I'm going to move up onto this rock, flying, as you know, that's actually pretty close.
Yeah, okay. So you're kind of moving up to it and then like flying up above it, which given you've got a ridiculous speed is easy enough to do. And you've even put your little winged flying motion on, which I'm very grateful for. Where do you want to move Dexys to?
Let's try to see how far he can move.
He's
got
what,
10,
speed 5?
so-
No, sorry,
he's
speed 10. So he can go up to 10 because running is a major action. So if, kind of what you both have to run, if that makes sense. I'm kind of ad-libbing these rules. We'll kind of put them in place, like firmly in place as we get a little more experience with it. But yeah, he can move up to there just fine, and that's your minor done. Okay, so maybe this warrior 1, who's kind of just been like shooting rockets vaguely in the direction of the arc gate, in off to the side. He kind of like looks up and is just his eyes kind of widen because he's just never seen anything like either you or Dexys before.
Okay. And like, you said you have to ready your weapons, so would I have to like say ready Dexys to fight then? No.
Dexys' weapon, I'll allow you to say they're ready because like his is like a claw. His claw attack is ready. What's he got? He's got a claw
Or a buzz-
and a buzzsaw. I think you'd have to ready the buzzsaw because that would represent like spinning it up.
Yeah.
But the claw is essentially like one of his legs, right? So
Yeah.
like
But
I
it's
don't.
just like his other limb.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm happy to say that his claw weapon is readied.
Okay. Right.
But you're not actually. Did you move Dexys as far as he could move?
Yeah. So
'Cause
not actually in range.
He's not actually in range. No.
No, I know. Like, that's fine. I'm gonna leave it there. Oh,
For the sake of fun, because this is our very first combat and it's really just supposed to be a taste of combat, I don't mind if we say you readied your weapon last turn, like on Twig.
okay.
Because, like, just I won't normally do that, but just for the sake of this being the first one and, it's more interesting. If you want to say your pistol is ready, then you can if you want.
Right. So, like, in a sort of overly showy fashion, I'm now pointing my quarterstaff at Warrior 1,
Okay.
gun in the other hand. And I'm like, you'd better get ready to fight, and I'm like taunting.
Okay.
So, with my so I'm gonna try and I haven't taken a major, have I? Just had a minor.
You haven't. I mean, you can do 2 minors as well, if you want.
I was gonna say I try to shoot Warrior 1 with my Ryan Holt Peacemaker.
Okay, cool.
But as I remember, my aim is terrible. But if I hit, then it hits for loads.
Your aim isn't great. You get a +1, I think, right? Because you got 1 accuracy.
Accuracy 1.
Yeah.
Higher ground as well.
Oh yeah, you are higher ground. That is true.
So,
Well observed. So yeah, I will give you a +1 for being on higher ground. So you get 3d6 + 2, essentially. Okay, well that definitely hits. Because Gnolls, perhaps not surprisingly, do not have the best defense. Okay, so if you want to roll for damage, which I believe is 1d6 + 2 for a peacemaker. Depends. Oh no, but you've got accuracy.
1d6 + 6.
It's 1d6. Oh, I know why. Okay. Yes. By the way, people, when we were doing your character sheets, I made a mistake, which Canny later pointed out to me, which is that ranged weapons for their damage get to add your perception bonus, and melee weapons for their damage get to add your strength bonus. So I have gone and corrected all your character sheets for that mistake. So Tolly, even though he's not...
got perception 4.
Yeah. So even though Tolly's not the best shot, he's very perceptive. And can maybe see weaknesses, like maybe he sees like, okay, this Gnoll's wearing like some good leather armor on like his torso, but like his you know, whatever, his neck, his arms are very exposed, so twig aims for those.
Yeah.
So you get 1d6 + 6 damage.
Jesus Christ.
Also, by the way, like if you do want to just roll dice at home and not use Roll20, I will you know, that's okay and I will believe you.
So I've hit him for 11.
Holy... Okay, Christ. Okay, right, so he takes a buttload of damage. He's got some armor, but essentially he takes quite a lot of damage. So he takes 8. So hopefully you can see his health bar's gone down.
Yep.
The shot basically like clips him in the shoulder and like makes him stagger back and yelp out in pain. Like it's a visibly nasty gunshot wound.
Just explodes like the Death Star.
Kavod, Kenny, would you are standing in the smoke-filled train car with the now healed Saurian child Nyx in your arms. What would you like to do?
How large is the rock that Tolly's flying on?
It's fairly large. Well, we know kind of objectively that it's about 12 yards wide, so...
Alright.
And it's not too high, but it's like, it's a little over a person high.
I'm going to run over to the rock.
What are you doing with Nyx? Are you still carrying her?
Yeah, carrying her.
Okay.
Can I put her down and draw my weapons?
I'm gonna... If you drop her...
No.
It's a free action. If you want to put her down carefully, I'm gonna say it's a minor action.
Okay, I'll put her down carefully.
Okay, cool.
Just like drop the mic.
Where do you want to put her down, given that this bush that's kind of to the right of you is slowly catching fire? Like, do you want her here, 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 here? Like, you can put her down wherever you like.
As possible. Right out in the open.
Can I move there and put her right next to the rock?
Yes, you can. That's probably a good call. Yeah, sorry, I realise you're not having, like, the most exciting task, Kenny, but yes, you successfully
No, I'm fine.
get Nyx out of the train and place her down behind the rock safely, and she kind of murmurs something that you don't understand, and oh no, you're Saurian, so you do understand. She basically says, like, Umber's gonna be the greatest place ever, and then she kind of, like, falls back into unconscious. Okay, so now it is Bwap or Blint, who has a rather angry Gnoll scout swinging a knife and barking at him.
Can I bark back?
Yeah, that's a free action, sure. She looks at you with confusion and then sort of barks a few times in response, like 2 short barks and then a long one.
I just keep barking and then try and smash her in the face with my axe.
Okay, sure. I'm just trying to work out if I can advise you on any minor actions before you take your major, but I think smashing in the face is a viable thing to do.
You could aim.
Oh yeah, you can actually aim for a melee if you wanted to, which would give you a +1 bonus. So it'd be kind of you like, kind of eyeing where you want to attack her with the axe.
Okay, I'll do that then.
Okay. So while you're doing your fake barking, you kind of like, you know, maybe eye the jugular in her neck, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna like hit this person.
I'm not sure my character sheet's right for these attack things. The attack rolls and
You got your 2-handed axe, which gets up, which is 3d6 plus 4 because you've got 4 in fighting.
Alright. Oh, right, oh yeah, okay.
I think you put +3 in character creation, and then you got another 1 from somewhere else. Like, I'm pretty sure that's right.
And then do I put another +1 for the aim?
It will be a +1 for the aim set. You're essentially rolling 3d6 plus 5. So if you don't hit, I'll be disappointed. Oh my god. Okay, yeah, you miss. You would stunt because you rolled a double, but you need to actually hit to be able to stunt.
He was barking too much, just missed.
Yeah, you're literally like trying to bark so much that you kind of like just flail incompetently with your axe. Maybe because your trousers are still kind of around your knees from being in the toilet, you sort of misstep and your axe just like hits the ground a couple of feet from where the Gnoll is actually standing.
Sails overhead.
So she kind of just looks at your axe embedded in the ground and then does 2 short barks and 1 long bark. Okay, so now it's the Gnoll's turn. Right. Let's start with Scout, who is confused by Blint's behaviour. She's sort of like, she does 2 barks, 2 short barks, 1 long bark. And then she does 2 short barks, 1 long bark. And when Blint doesn't respond, she just lunges forward with her knife again. Like, just barking repeatedly. So. I believe she hits you. Let me just check your def. Yeah, okay. So she swings with her knife. She catches you with the knife. And she does 2 damage to you. I mean, either I can do it or you can do it, really.
I'll trust you to do it.
Okay. I've just realised something. Oh no, you do. Okay, you do have it. Okay, so you take 2 damage. Like you've gone down from 37 health to 35 health, so it's not too big a deal. Like maybe she kind of just swipes and like maybe puts a scratch across your cheek.
Just trying to make him stop barking.
Yeah. And then we've got the rest of the Gnolls. We've got this Gnoll that Warrior 1 that Tolly just shot. It's just gonna it's gonna throw down its rocket launcher, which is spent because it's kind of like a one-shot weapon, and he's already used it firing at the arc gate. So he's gonna move up, realize that twig is just kind of too high, like above it, and it's just gonna kind of like scrabble madly and like make roaring noises. The other gnolls have now noticed that they're under attack, however. The pack leader is going to move up to here, and it sort of bellows. Again, in a sort of barking, yelping language you don't understand, but it bellows at the other two warriors. Warrior 2 basically charges at Dexys and tries to swing at it with its claws. So it gets 3d6 plus 5. Again, gnolls are pretty good at fighting. So it hits Dexys, and its claws do 1d6 plus 4 damage. So it kind of like really lays into Dexys. I'm gonna have to check Dexys's character sheet.
It's got armor of 4.
It's got armor 4, so Dexys takes 4 damage from that guy. Kind of like it, like sort of. It's basically scratching the paintwork, but a little deeper, if that makes sense.
Because Dexys is a robot, can I actually heal him? Or?
No, only Tolly can heal him using a repair action. A repair action is basically a heal action, but for mechanical creatures.
But we did decide that if the firefly that's in the inside, Flicker, if that's damaged, or he's damaged, then you probably can heal that.
Yeah, because that's like a living creature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, spells that sort of have effects on living creatures, like a stun or a mesmerize or something like that, they will affect Dexys because he is powered by a living creature. But in all other respects, he's a robot who needs to be repaired.
I can't just like fix the metal with healing touch or something. Okay.
No.
No.
You could heal the firefly if the firefly was sick for some bizarre reason, but no. Generally speaking, you can't heal Dexys, only Tolly can. Okay, so the other warrior, Warrior 3, obeys his pack leader's command. He is going to sort of run, and he's still got the last loaded rocket launcher, and he shoots it at the train. So he's got like just a straight 3d6 roll with that. And he fails. So he kind of like, but in his excitement, he's kind of jabbering to himself in like lots of little yelpy, snarly noises, and he fires really high, and it just like shoots over the top of the train and kind of explodes in the sky, which is vaguely alarming, but doesn't do any damage. Then we've got a couple of NPC actions. We've got Calpurnia. Sorry?
I think he's just going ahead.
Oh, sorry, Krosek. I don't know why I keep forgetting you. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Krosek, it's obviously your turn now.
Yeah, you're just testing me, right?
You've just witnessed Kavod like taken the healed Saurian girl like out the door. The carriage is now really filled with smoke. Gilcrest is next to you, just kind of like shaking and muttering to himself.
Just like lean down and just slap him really hard across the face. Or with
Yeah, sure, we'll call that a free action if you want. Just like
I'm gonna lift his face up. I'm just gonna smack him and just look at him until he like acknowledges me.
he's like what? What is it? What is it?
In like really guttural, because I guess I can't speak common that well. I'm just gonna tell him to like get out or move even.
Okay, so he goes yes, sorry, and he kind of runs out like just blindly.
Free action or?
Yeah, we'll call that a free action just for the sake of it. He kind of like goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he just kind of runs out, clutching his book, and like gets out of the train.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about his books than him.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm gonna walk out, I guess.
Sure. Okay. You can move up to 10
I'm gonna move.
or 5 squares, however you look at it. So behind the rock.
Yep. I'm gonna glance down, make sure Nyx is okay. Then I'm gonna cast. Hold on. I need to check. Is Warrior 2 visible to me?
Yeah, the scrub bush is kind of like just like, you know, some weedy bush. It's maybe a couple of feet in height. I mean, it's on fire, which is vaguely alarming, but you can definitely see over it.
Okay, I'm gonna. I guess I can't see the pack leader behind the rock.
No, you can't.
Okay, I'm gonna cast Jolt on Warrior 2.
Okay,
He's,
sure.
Yeah, he's in within 10 yards of me.
Mhm.
So roll 3d6. I have to beat 11, so it's 3d6 plus 4, I guess.
Yeah, so you've got to roll the target number, and then
Then
the Gnoll has to do the test. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you definitely hit him.
Okay, so he takes 2 damage, and he has to succeed in a 11 Constitution test against my spell power, or he's stunned.
A Constitution test. Okay, sure. So
Yeah, I
he's
have 12.
okay. He's got +2 Constitution. So he gets 13. So he makes the Constitution test. So he's not stunned. So I guess you kind of like just like flick out like sort of a staticky tendril of lightning, and it kind of like just like zaps him. But he's okay.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Does Jolt do anything else, or is it pretty much
No,
like?
if it hits him, it stuns him if he fails, but that's it. It just does 2 damage.
Sure. Okay. Right. Okay. Then it's the NPCs. We've kind of done Gilcrest as part of Crowsick's turn. Calpurnia kind of like just moves forward, and she just unloads her gun at the pack leader. Screaming something which nobody understands, but sounds like the kind of guttural language of the hobgoblins. So she hits the pack leader. I've forgotten how much damage a pig iron does. Hang on. Because I forgot to include it in her sheet because I'm a noob. A pig iron obviously does 2d6 damage. I knew that. Jesus Christ. Okay. So oh wow, she also stunted actually, now that I look at it. Because she rolled a double and she got 5 stunt points because her first dice is a 5. So she's going to use the lethal blow stunt, which basically adds another 2d6 damage.
She's using it on the pack leader, did you say?
She's using it on the pack leader, yeah.
Okay.
She has an extra 5 points of damage, so she does a shitload of damage to him.
I think 10.
Okay, so she literally like just unloads a bunch of shots with her pig iron. Which
What sort of gun is the pig iron?
the pig iron is kind of like a blunderbuss type rifle. Like it's quite a primitive rifle, but it's
So-
primitive but effective.
So does it fire off like one bullet or a bunch of
Yeah, okay. To be fair, I'm kind of being incorrect when I say she shoots a lot of shots of it. She basically, like... I'm going to say because she did the lethal blow stun that she essentially just fired off a shot, reloaded, and then fired another shot. So she basically just, like, put a shot into his chest that, like, sent him staggering back, and then she put another shot into his neck, and he just kind of, like, half collapses to the ground, shrieking with like blood pouring out of him. And Calpurnia is just in full battle frenzy mode, like screaming like swear words in a language you don't understand, but you get the sense that she's not pleased. We've done Gilchrist, so it's back to Twig.
Yep, I think that's right.
Yep.
Right, so Dexys runs forward,
Yep.
skittering along.
Clackety clackety clack.
And he like just thrusts his claw like at the pack leader.
Okay, cool.
Dex
Dexys has a +4. It's using his claw or his buzzsaw? His claw.
the buzzsaw's not spun up yet.
Yeah, but you could ready it if you want to, because you haven't used a miner. It's up to you. Like, the claw hits...
Is the miner not the running? I just moved.
Oh, sorry, no, the miner's the move, so yeah, okay, so you've got to use the claw. So the claw is 3d6 +4.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just doing it.
That's okay.
Christ.
10, I'm afraid to say, does not hit. So essentially, Dexys kind of like runs up and like just flails with the claw. But the pack leader kind of like just staggers away from Dexys, like while clutching at its throat, which is bleeding from the big wound that Calpurnia has inflicted on it.
Okay.
So Dexys is kind of rearing on its two back legs, just flailing its other two front legs like at the pack leader. But that's all it does, I'm afraid to say. So Kavod is behind a rock, having put Nyx down. What would you like to do?
How on fire is that bush?
When you ran over there, it was just kind of starting to smolder. It was essentially like, you know, there were a few burning bits in the air from the train wreck that caught onto it. Now it is starting to catch fire. So essentially, if you can see the two squares I'm kind of like marking there, like those are on fire. This side of it is not yet on fire, but I would be surprised if they weren't on fire soon. So you could run through this space if you wanted to, but you won't be able to soon. Because that fire is spreading fast.
I'm just gonna move across and draw my weapons and just guard myself. Be ready in case one of them charges.
Okay, do you want to guard for +1 or +2? Bearing in mind it affects your ability tests on non-combatty things. Not that I think that matters, but you know, it's up to you.
Guard +2.
Okay, cool. So sorry, did you want to move?
Oh wait, no. Yeah, move, draw my weapons, and then guard, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, guard's kind of a minor action, so sorry, you can... Well, no, you can do that, but... no, you can't do that, because drawing your weapons is a minor action, and guard is a minor action, and move is a minor action, so you can do 2 of those 3 things.
Move and we'll draw my weapons.
Okay, cool. Is that where you want your character to be? Like, you kind of haven't moved past the burning bush yet. Moses.
No, I'm fine being this side of the burning bush.
Okay, cool. Then it's Blint's go.
I just want to smack her in the face, or at least try again.
Okay, go for it. Do you want to do the aim and attack thing again?
Yeah. I'll aim and attack.
Okay, so you get 3d6 plus 5, and if you use your little dice roller thing on the left-hand side, you should be able to re-click rolls that you've made before.
Yeah.
Oh crap! Okay, yeah, you definitely hit her. Do you want to roll for damage? Which is with the two-handed axes, 3d6 plus 4. Holy crap! Okay, so you just destroy her. Like you bring that axe down, and it quite gorily cuts that Gnoll in two, like head down to legs, just thump, like explosion of blood. Congratulations.
Bark at the 2 bits of body.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Sorry, I'm just trying to mark her as dead, and it's not letting me. Yeah, she is so dead. Like, it's quite gross how dead she is. Congratulations.
Should you give her an extra counter if she's been chopped in two?
Probably, but I'm not going to because I'm worried I'm going to break roll 20.
Funny.
And she like have 1 bit there and 1 bit there.
Hang on. There, are you happy?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like,
Incredibly so.
it's kind of like over your shoulder, you hear Calpurnia go, ugh, gross.
Turn around and smile.
Okay, so now it's the Gnoll's turn. The pack leader, who kind of has seen this happen out the corner of his eye, like just shrieks with rage, like it's this real guttural howl of just like, what the fuckness. Which is totally a thing. But he channels his rage and he attacks Dexys. With the spear that he has, so I'm afraid he hits Dexys. And
Jesus.
he does 7 damage, but Dexys is basically made of metal, so he's got quite good armor, so
4 armor, so it hits 3.
okay, so Dexys kind of like staggers back with like a dent in one side of him, but he's okay.
I just want to say as well, like, as a good way of like just contextualizing the whole thing. I reckon if Dexys gets to less than half health, so he's got, I think 15 is his health. So
Yeah,
if
at the
it's
moment.
less than say 7, then the core is exposed where the Firefly lives.
Okay. So we'll leave that for now, but we'll make a rule for that later on. Yeah,
Okay.
like, so he's kind of exposed, like you can, like there's this shining green light kind of emanating from the dent that's been made in his armor. I've got to do the other Gnolls now, so Warrior 2 kind of like blindly charges up, ignoring the fact that the bush is on fire, and takes a swing at Krosek with its claws, because it's dropped its rocket launcher at this point.
I'm just gonna tut. With its wings.
You're gonna tut.
I'm gonna tut.
You've got balls. He's so off-put by your tutting that he just misses. He's just like, what? You're looking down on me right now? Warrior 3 just kind of moves up and takes a swipe at Gilcrest and does, like, I'm just gonna arbitrarily say... He, like, swipes Gilcrest for 5 damage. Okay, so Wait, Krosek, did I give you a go, or did I do that thing that I do again?
No, the Gnolls go before me, so it's my go.
Oh, okay, so it's your go now.
Okay. Oh, it's Warrior 2 in front of me. I'm gonna pick sort of. I'm holding my staff, aren't I? Because I healed.
You are. You were kind of waving it around, I think.
Okay. Oh yeah, I was waving it at next, wasn't I? Okay, I'm gonna aim, and I'm just gonna try and wallop the Gnoll like really, really hard between the legs.
Okay, so yeah, you're essentially 3d6 plus 1 to hit it in the balls.
Okay.
With your quarterstaff, you don't normally have an advantage, so you're now 3d6 plus 1. Congratulations.
Yeah, I rolled 14.
Okay, so you hit it in the balls. Nobody's stunted yet. I would really love it if you stunted by hitting him in the balls. Roll some damage, please.
1d6 plus 2. Did I gain damage from anything? I don't think I do.
You know what? I'm gonna give you an extra plus 2 damage for hitting him in the balls.
Nice. That's 1d6 plus 4 then.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do that all the time, but you know, you can have it now.
9.
Okay, sure. And I'm gonna call that penetrating damage that ignores his armor.
Yeah, definitely.
So he like falls over like in screaming pain. I'm gonna say he's knocked prone, like he's knocked on the ground. Like, and he just like wails sadly.
He's, like, looking up at me as if like, why
Just
did
like,
you do
why?
that?
You know that thing when you kind of have to tell a dog, no, you did a bad thing, and they look at you with big sad eyes?
No,
Yeah, that's what he's doing right now. He's just like, why? We were just playing. Why did you have to do this to me?
I'm just gonna look at him, just disapprovingly.
Okay. Okay, Calpurnia and Gilcrest. I'm gonna say that Calpurnia is reloading and Gilcrest just runs crying over here. Like he's just like, oh my god, 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 and he just runs over that. So now it's Twig's turn.
Cool.
So you've kind of got this Warrior 1 jumping up at you, but he can't quite get to you, but he's sort of like swiping, and he's getting closer and closer with each jump, like he's kind of scrambling up the rock. So you're worried he's going to be able to grab you next turn. Dexis is sort of flailing at this pack leader, who is sort of circling around Dexis with an axe in its hand.
Seeing as I reckon I sort of survived the hit. Right, I think Dexis spins up with the buzzsaw
Awesome. Okay.
and swipes at the pack leader.
Okay. Awesome. So Dexis kind of like just powers up this buzzsaw that it's got on one of its arms, like I can't do a good buzzsaw noise, but just imagine that was a good buzzsaw noise.
Like Gears of War style.
Yeah, totally. And like just moves slowly forward with this deadly buzzsaw. You don't get any bonuses, it's just a straight 3d6 roll to hit the pack leader. Oh man. Okay, so he kind of moves forward with the buzzsaw, and the pack leader just kind of like sidesteps out the way. Like, just what were you even doing then?
This is my rolls have just been so bad.
That is unfortunate. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so Dexter's just kind of like charges forward, just kind of go, leave this up to me, boss, and moves forward with his buzzsaw, and the pack leader just sidesteps him so easily it's not even funny. Sorry about that. Kavod, it's your turn. You kind of are in the situation where two Gnoll warriors have charged you, Gilcrest has run away, Crowsex kind of like just kicked this one warrior in the balls, but this other one's coming like around the side. Also, by the way, this bush is really catching on fire. Like, really quite surprisingly on fire.
Can I?
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Just
Sorry,
gonna hit
sorry.
warrior 3.
Okay, so I've kind of expanded that fire. It's not quite hitting Warrior 2 yet, but any moment. Like, Warrior 2 has basically got his back to the fire, and it's spreading like mad.
Can I attack and then move?
Yeah, totally. That's fine.
I'm gonna hit warrior 3 and then move back as well.
Okay, sure. So, you have got a variety of weapons. What would you like to attack him with? Battle Axe, so you get 3d6 plus 3. 11 hits him. So do you want to roll some damage? Which is 2d6 plus 3. Okay, so it's more of a glancing blow. You essentially kind of like just catch him in the shoulder, like you penetrate his armor, but it's just bleeding a bit. He's not too fussed.
Can I also do the threaten combat stunt as I move back?
Let me have a look at it. One sec, because I'm still learning all the stunts. You haven't stunted though. Oh no, sorry, you did stunt. You got a you rolled a double on your attack, so you've got a 2-point stunt. So yeah, you can totally do a threaten, which is essentially like taunting in World of Warcraft. Your opponent. Oh no, you must make an opposed test of strength versus your target's willpower. If you win, they must attack you. So you're essentially hurling abuse at it in the hope that it will follow you. I like your style.
And
Okay, so your strength intimidation is basically just your strength. So 3d6 plus your strength.
focus intimidation.
Oh, you've got a focus and intimidation. Okay, so it's your strength plus 2.
Whoops. Missed out the 5.
Okay, try it again with a 5.
That's a proper roll.
Okay, that's better. Let me just quickly look at the Gnoll profile. Okay, it gets this roll. Okay, so it fails. It somehow, despite not sharing the same language as you, like it gets that you're taking the piss out of it. So it yeah, use a lot of like elaborate gestures to suggest that its mother was not like the noble person that it thought it was.
Awesome. And then I want to move back one.
Okay. Okay. You only want to go one. Okay, so you just kind of step back with these elaborate gestures, having like sort of smacked it up a bit. Okay. Okay, then we've got Blint. I will say we're going to have a little break after this combat because it's gone on longer than I anticipated. But, Blint, you have cleaved a Gnoll Scout in two. There is this mad hobgoblin next to you, kind of like just firing shots at anything that moves. You can see Twig and her pet robot are kind of engaging with these gnolls. What would you like to do?
I'm gonna move up to the first thing I can see, which is that guy, and then all out attack.
Okay,
That's mine.
awesome.
Um,
Oh, you mean actually the action named All Out Attack, which I now have to go read because no one's done it before.
that one.
You throw the full weight of your strength behind the attack. So you do +1 damage, but you suffer -1 defense, essentially. Cool, so what are you attacking with? Because you've got a number of weapons.
200 axe.
200 axe, which is what you have in your hand. So 3d6 +4 to hit. you definitely hit. And then if you could roll damage, please.
So,
3d6 plus 4 damage as well. Jesus Christ.
I think Bwappy, you're stunted.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. No, you're totally right. Yeah, you stunted, so you can. Well, I might recommend you do a lethal blow, but you could do a lightning attack or an armor pierce or any manner of combat stunts. You've got 5 stunt points. What would you like to do with them?
I've got one, haven't I?
Oh, sorry. No, you got 3. You got 3 stunt points because it's your. Am I looking at the right thing? No, sorry, you've got 1. Sorry, I was looking at my own roll. I need you to scroll down. You've got 1 stunt point, so you can skirmish or stay aware. Skirmish basically means you can kind of like move an extra bit, or you can move the target around a bit.
Where's that?
Could you like drag him down to the bottom of the rock?
What do you mean by that? Like drag
You
him
said
down?
You said he was like climbing up to attack.
He was kind of scrabbling up. Yeah, if you want to, I'll say that you can use your 1 stunt point to knock the Gnoll prone.
Well, I'll roll for damage first, and then I'll try to figure out what I'm doing. I'll do that.
Yeah, okay. It's fudging the rules a little, but I think it's okay.
Oh, do you have to do this one first? Oh, that's alright.
Technically you do, but like this is like for fun. I'm going to see what happens. It doesn't actually matter because you have totally killed that Gnoll.
Well,
Like-
I want to throw him. What is it? Skirmish where I can move him backwards away from Tolly,
Yeah.
like to where the pack leader is.
Okay, so are you kind of like cleaving him in 2 and then like throwing the bits towards the pack leader?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like
Jesus Christ.
that way. Yeah.
There's gonna be another
Oh
2
my
bits of this on the floor.
Made quite an entrance from that toilet.
Yeah, there is another bit on there.
Okay, so you've literally charged forward, chopped that guy in half, and the bits are just raining down on the pack leader.
And then I want to smile at Tolly. At Twig.
And I just smile back.
Okay, it's now the pack leader's turn. I'm gonna say that he literally shits himself. Because, like, a hail of blood and guts and flesh is just, like, just gone over his head. And is raining down, yeah. So, he disengages and tries to run away. I'm gonna say that Dexis gets to kind of like have a free extra attack at him as he tries to run away in cowardice.
Okay.
So if you want to make a quick attack with Dexis with his claw weapon, since that's what he had out,
That's
3d6 plus 4. And I'll give you like a +2 to hit, so call it 3d6 plus 6. Okay, so you hit him. Do you want to roll some damage? Okay, so you totally kill him. Like, as he tries to run away, covered in the gore of his fellow warrior, he just kind of panics, drops his weapons, turns to run away, and Dexis just, like, whacks him over the head, and he, like, just falls down dead. Like, just no argument, smack to the head, blood pouring everywhere, falls down dead. The other Gnolls kind of like hear his death shriek, and they just start legging it like crazy. They start running for the hills.
Isn't that one guy prone though?
You know what? Even though he's prone, he kind of like scrabbles up and just runs. So we're gonna say that initiative is over. What happens now is that those two warriors are just running like crazy. And you see this dust cloud on the horizon that is advancing towards you very, very quickly. And those warriors are running straight into it. But they've just seen their leader, you know, very horribly killed, and their friends quite horribly killed. So they are just running in a blind panic. That dust cloud envelops those Gnoll warriors, and they're just never seen again. You never see what happens to those Gnoll warriors.
Right.
Out of that dust cloud, you see several dwarves and a couple of orcs and a human riding towards you. Those dwarves are riding what are called brocks, which are basically giant badger mounts. Like, they're very large badger creatures, maybe about like 8 foot long, that dwarves and halflings are known to ride. And then there's also like these orcs and humans who are riding horses, like just conventional horses. You don't see what happened to the warriors, but you assume they were just cut down. And as these dwarves and the other guys ride towards you, like, there's a head sort of dwarf at the very front of the group who kind of raises a hand to you. He's like this very, very, very ginger dwarf, like big flaming red beard, big flaming red hair. Here, you know what I'm trying to say? Hair. This very, very ginger dwarf rides towards you on a giant badger with his friends behind him and basically says, you know, well met, put your weapons down, we're here to help. Do you have any particular reactions to this? We're kind of going out of initiative now. Like, I'm going to say combat's over and everyone's deaded.
Whereabouts are they? Like, are they in the direction?
Okay. They've basically come. I haven't got tokens for them, but they've basically come from the direction that the warriors have fled. So kind of to the right of the screen, the east of where you are.
Right. So I fly down off of the rock.
Tell you what, I've put this token on. Let's assume there's a few more of them, but like the lead guy, the really super ginger dude, who's riding the dwarf who's riding a badger, like, he kind of like rides in, like, dun, 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 we're the cavalry, hello. He puts his hand up and asks you to put your weapons down, like everything's okay now.
So I put my peacemaker away, but I've still got the staff sort of in hand, like, you know, just haven't slung it away yet. What the hell happened? What was that? No, like that's why I say to the dwarf.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So this dwarf has like a super Scottish accent that I can't do, so just imagine it. Because obviously all dwarves are Scottish. He basically says, the Blackpool bandits attacked Prosperity Junction. We're here to save you. He kind of looks at the burning trains and the burning bodies that were like spat out of the trains when the Gnolls attacked, and the Arc Gate, which is sort of like behind him. This big amazing structure which is now on fire, and bits of it have been like blasted off by rocket attacks. And he kind of goes, you gotta look, you know, puts his head down, and he's like, clearly we were too late.
Can I just sort of ignore him and make sure Nyx is okay?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so you look at Nyx. She's still unconscious. But like, she looks totally healthy. She looks like a Saurian girl, like in a natural sleep. That's kind of about the most you can tell about her right now.
I'm just gonna like gesture to Cavod to like pick her up.
To Cavod. Okay.
Yeah.
Cavod, do you want to pick her up? Okay.
I'm assuming he has a good reason for this.
Yeah, okay, so Calpurnia's gonna like come over to you and like she kinda like pats Nyx's head and she says, she sort of mutters like, oh, not again, not again. And she sort of like mops the sweat from Nyx's brow and is sort of fussing over her in quite a maternal way. So these other riders, whether they're on Brock Badger type mounts or whether they're on horses, have shown up. I'm gonna just dump some tokens on here to represent them. You're just gonna have to imagine that they're on horses, or indeed badgers.
They just remind me of badger moles from Avatar.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I haven't got that far in Avatar, so thank you for the spoilers.
Ah, they're not that. It's not like a huge thing.
Oh, whatever. Okay, you can imagine there's a party of several dwarves and a couple of orcs and a couple of humans, who have arrived. So this very, very ginger dwarf sort of advances forward and he says, "My name is Magnus Redhammer. I'm sorry. I'm deeply sorry about the circumstances of your arrival on our world. But let me welcome you to Umber, and we'd like to escort you to Prosperity Junction, which is, you know, our town." And he sort of points in the distance, and that if you remember when you first sort of entered the Arc Gate, there was this kind of ramshackle looking wooden building town on the horizon. He points to it, and he kind of like gestures to it with love. He's kind of like, you know, gesturing, and his eyes are kind of almost misting over. And he asks you if you'd accompany him. Like, you know, we can give you a lift, as it were, on our mounts.
Can I ask him if he's got any sort of like, do you have any sort of medical supplies that I can use or have to?
He looks at you and shakes his head, and he says, "No. The town's been sacked by the Blackboard Bandits, who you've been fighting."
Okay, I'll just look at him and tut.
Yeah, but
I'm not tutting him to like clicking.
he kind of holds up a finger and he's like, "Wait, but the Church of the Lone Rider, who have a presence in town, they have very famous healers, so we can take you to them if you have wounded, and they have always been able to help my people when they've needed help."
Okay, thanks for the information. You know all the corpses around the train. Well, I see there's like a woman on the tracks. Can I go and check
Yep.
if she's okay, or if like I could, because I have revival spell.
You sure? Yeah. You can go up to her if you wish,
Over here.
like that. But even like just a simple glance at her tells you she's like far beyond your help. Like her head is basically sort of snapped to one side. Like you would guess that maybe she either fell or was thrown from the train when the attack happened, and like, you know, revival spells have to happen within minutes of death, and you know that there's nothing you can do for her.
I'm just gonna kind of close her eyes then and move back to where I was. Or
Okay, sure. Does anyone else want to do anything?
I move over here and like see if we've got out worth taking, sort of thing.
Okay, sure. Well, the scout that you just clove in two in a really disgusting way. She was carrying like a knife and a bow with some arrows, which are kind of like just scattered on the ground from the explosion of blood you caused. If you want to pick those up, you can.
I'll take the knife and leave the bow.
Okay, sure. So I'll just stick that in your inventory.
Well, I've been looking for you guys anyway. That's why I'm here. So I guess we should head off to Prosperity Junction.
Sorry, who are you saying that to?
Oh, to the main.
To the ginger guy.
Red Hammer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, since you've guessed who it is, he kind of like just nods to you and says, you know, "Oh, I've been remiss. I haven't. Oh, you've clearly recognised him." So he kind of like bows to you a little in his saddle, and he's like, well, I am Magnus Redhammer. I'd like, you know, I apologise for the terrible circumstances of your arrival, but I'd like to welcome you to Umber. Would you ride with me, and I'll take you into town, and I'll make sure that, you know, your people are well looked after.
Well, I can't speak for everyone else, but I'll go.
Okay, so maybe you bound up and get on the back of his Brock, his badger mount, and some of the other people, you know, some of the other people in his group kind of like dismount, or they kind of like make it clear that you can get on their badgers or their horses, depending on what race they are. Like the small members among them, like the dwarfs, like have badgers, and the larger people like humans and orcs have horses. And they kind of like gesture you're welcome to join them. Is that all okay with everybody?
Don't
Is
have a
that-
cart.
Sorry?
There's a cart or wagons with things in rather than...
No, there's not. They've literally just kind of like rode out of the sunset to help you. So they've just got a few horses and badgers. But Calpurnia sort of like picks up Nyx, and even though she's, you know, she's a hobgoblin, they're not very big. They're only about like sort of 3-4 foot tall. It's clear that she can carry her, so she picks up Nyx. Nyx has a cameo in this episode. No, she picks up Nyx and like kind of gets on one of the orcs' horses.
I'm gonna get on and stay as close as I can to the historian girl. I'm not gonna get on the same mount as them, but I'll like.
Sure. Okay, so maybe you get on a horse with the other orc and like kind of like you ride alongside them.
Yeah, I'm like keeping an eye on her.
And this ginger dwarf Magnus Redhammer, he kind of goes like, "Forward, my brothers and sisters, to Prosperity Junction," and you kind of like you all get on horses and you kind of like, you know, ride off towards the town in the distance. So I think now would be a good time to maybe have a break, because I don't know if people want to drink or some food or something like that.
Make a snack, like maybe a sandwich or something.
Yeah, sure. That combat took a little longer than I meant to. It was supposed to be an introduction to combat.
That's alright.
But basically, yeah, you get on these horses and Brocks, and you kind of ride towards the town. And we will take a break here. Like I want to kind of say like maybe a 15-minute break. So if it's 8:35 now for me. So if we maybe meet back at about
5 to ish.
Yeah, like 5 to 9 in 20 minutes odd time. Would that be okay with everyone?
Sure.
Sounds good to me.
Cool. Okay. I will pause the video for now, and yeah.
Just for context, by the way, I drew while that combat was going on, I drew a quick sketch of what Dexys actually looks like.
Oh, okay. Would you like me to replace his token?
No, I'll draw a better version at some point. But
Okay.
essentially a bit like the mechano tanks that the gnomes have, but unmanned. And his claw and the sword sort of they're on like, don't really know what to describe them as, like sort of like, you know Dr. Octopus in
I do. Yeah.
yeah, like his arms are a little bit like that, you know, they're sort of robotic and they move fluidly like tendrils.
Okay, so he's got his sort of 4 spider legs, and then he's got arms which are additional
Embedded into the
weapons.
sides of the robot until they're used.
Okay, I will look forward to seeing the sketch of that because that'll be cool.
Or you
Also-
can know
also
the-
I've just seen-
the Frontier Age thing. Like, I've already done it.
Oh, sorry, I haven't really been looking at Discord. Oh, okay. I'm with you. Okay, so you've kind of got like a tentacle with a claw and a tentacle with a buzzsaw on.
Yeah.
Or rather, Dexys has that.
Yes.
Okay.
And the vents are so that you know, Flicker doesn't die. Inside.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. I like it. I've also just seen your Badger Mole post, and yes, that's basically what a
Are they
Brock
accurate?
is.
Are they like that?
That's reasonably accurate, yeah. Like maybe not quite that big. Like a Brock is about the size of a horse,
Yeah, those are like huge. They're, like,
Yeah.
elephant sized, yeah.
but a Brock is like a badger-sized horse that dwarves and halflings used because I thought that was cool.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right, anyway, I'm gonna go make a sandwich.
Okay, I will see you people back at 5 to 9.